our Almighty God, Creator of heaven and earth, Father and lover of our soul, you sit on your throne of mercy and rule with your love and faithfulness. You are full of grace. We acknowledge your presence in our lives. Nothing is hidden in your eyes, even our challenges and struggles in life. We come to you with faith. We ask not only for our daily spiritual bread, but to seek your forgiveness and undeserving favor to heal our land, our family members, our friends and neighbors, even our enemies with COVID-19 and other diseases. Holy Spirit, help us to deepen our faith and see the opportunity to believe, obey, and worship. As we face this pandemic, you are Lord and God. Encourage us and change our hearts, not to fear, but to be full of hope and find ourselves praying and meditating your word. We believe no works of the enemy prosper to your children. Abba, Father, we believe that your Son Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. He is the truth in our salvation. Hear our prayers, O Lord, and most of all, not our will, but thy will be done. We pray this in Jesus' name, the name above all names, who was and is to come. Amen.
The views and opinions of the producers, hosts, and guests in the show do not directly reflect the official stand and policies of the management, the network, and the company. We are now ready to kick in, only here in Sports Bytes. Want to know what's happening in the world of Philippine sports? Sports Bytes brings you latest news and trends in your favorite sports. Hear your favorite athletes and sports leaders tell their stories on just about anything that matters in sports. So sit back and relax as we bring Sports Bytes, only here in BigMedia Philippines, your home digital media network.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Sports Bytes Philippines in cooperation with BigMedia Philippines. For today, we talk about the NBA Finals. Well, as everybody knows, it's done. The Warriors are champions again, and I'm sure my guest is kind of happy because he called it. Everybody, please welcome again on the show for the second time, Mr. Roland Lazenby.
How you doing, man?
Very busy. I'm taking it from you.
That's good.
All right, sir. I won't go around the bush. I want your thoughts. I mean, you called it. You were looking at it. It happened. The Warriors are champions again over the Boston Celtics. I'd like to hear
basically everything ended up as it should have in the NBA this year. And that doesn't always happen. A lot of times injuries derail everything, but from so much time watching the great NBA teams in the 80s and the 90s with Jordan, when you have a superstar that lifts everything, and of course Steph Curry is that. He has changed basketball dramatically and continues to do so. And of course the lessons you learn from superstars is that, boy, they're fantastic, but they need their teammates. And, Steve Kerr, the coach of the Golden State Warriors, has had an immersive basketball life. He's been immersed in 2 championship cultures. The Chicago Bulls, where he was one of those players who delivered a championship for Jordan in 1997. I'll never forget, I was sitting in the press box looking down on the building when Jordan passed him the ball and Steve Kerr hit that shot, and that whole building exploded. It was like looking at some kind of some kind of sea creature that just suddenly came fully alive. It was like that building was one thing. It's one of the most electrifying moments of my long career. And so this guy, Steve Kerr, also part of championships with the San Antonio Spurs and the great Greg Popovich. Just the product of so many things, including a victim of international terrorism. He is truly a unique man, Steve Kerr. He everything he does is embedded in the knowledge that it's not all about the coach, but the coach is critical. And that, it's not some raging ego. He has a natural humility. And, his superstar, he's dealt with some tough superstars, Steve Kerr has. He and Jordan were not close. Steve talked with me at length about this, which was a big part of my book, For Michael Jordan, The Life, because he and Michael were on a team. They were two players whose fathers had been murdered, and they never once discussed that. And so I'll get on to the basketball, but everything is as it should be in the NBA. Steve Kerr knows how to coach. He knows how to let his players have the day. It is a player's game. And, those Warriors are an amazing collection. And Klay Thompson, how much character does that guy have to struggle through injuries that would wreck all of us, no matter what we're doing? And to come back and to play, to fight through, and then to play well after struggling. And across that roster, so many things. And so it was also exciting to see this really well-coached young Celtics team. And, people who watch sports closely, whether it's football or what we call soccer, what the rest of the world calls football, or any other sport, the people who study it closely often spend their time watching the young players grow and accumulate the tough lessons and the wisdom to rise. And so it's easy to love that Celtics team as well. And so it was a good season. I'm sorry for such a long-winded answer.
It's no problem at all. I love it. Okay. Anyway, you were talking about the Celtics. Nobody saw them making it past the playoffs. I mean, deep into the playoffs. But yet, they reached the NBA Finals. Would it be safe to say that they overachieved?
Yes, except for this. They have a really good roster. They're exceptionally well coached by a first-year coach. They have a couple of really talented young players in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They have a bright future. In 1990-91, I wrote the history of the NBA Finals. And I think one of the things that leapt out to me from looking at all those teams and interviewing all those people, you will have certain teams emerge that are fearless. And in a lot of the great finals battles of the past, you had teams that would lose a game at home and then go on the road and just find a way to exert their will over another team's crowd, their will over another team. And so one of the things I found fascinating about the Celtics was their ability to find that kind of strength to win in big games on the road. It didn't quite get them to a championship, but it got them right to the top of the hill where they could see the championship. And they had that feeling. Now, you never know. I've done a fair amount of coaching, and whenever in youth basketball we've won a championship, or I always would tell my players, you got to celebrate every championship you ever win on every level, because you never know. Life doesn't guarantee championships to anyone. I don't care how talented, how hardworking. There's so many things that go into it. I think that's why we admire people who make success a routine. We like to call them dynasties, which of course is hyperbole. The dynasties that the world knows came out of Asia, and they lasted forever. Dynasties in American sports are like the life of a butterfly over the course of a few years, or I should say dynasties in global sports even are like a life of a butterfly. That's a mere flickering wing on the face of humanity in a lot of ways, because the world is big, many troubles. But we celebrate these dynasties because it is repeated success. And sports is a metaphor for all of us, for our lives in a lot of ways. So that's why fans live and die with the games. And that's why when you have a champion such as Steph Curry leading with his brilliance, and then the assembled players around him, it rings of Bill Russell, the 1950s and 60s Boston Celtics behind Bill Russell, who was a revolutionary defensive player. They won 11 championships in 13 seasons. And so the centerpiece of that would be Bill Russell and a couple of other players, Sam Jones. But the team itself, with Red Auerbach coaching and then becoming GM, got really good at bringing in players who could come in. They'd been good players elsewhere, but in the environment created by a special leader like Bill Russell or Steph Curry, what you get is sustained success, that dynasty we talk about. And so it's fascinating to watch that evolve around an interesting character like Steph Curry. He's not really hard on his teammates like Michael Jordan. He's not almost cold with his teammates sometimes like Kobe Bryant. He's not this towering force with his teammates like LeBron James. He has his own way, and it is it's interesting. It's gentlemanly. He's not a Darth Vader type figure. He really. His mother is from a little city about 30 miles from where I live. I live in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, the western part of the state. It's a simple, uncomplicated place. But it is a place where people have deep values. And his mother, his father's a great guy. I interviewed him in 1984 for the Sporting News when he was a college player at nearby Virginia Tech in this same region. But his mother is somebody deeply set in a value system. And she has had And when I study great NBA players, great athletes, and write these biographies of them, like Michael Jordan, The Life, or Showboat, The Life of Kobe Bryant, or Jerry West, The Life and Legend of a Basketball Icon, when I write these, so often the key is a mother of very silent strength, but immense strength and character. And so that's another fulfilling part of this story. You know, and in one sense, it's all the basketball, the end-to-end action, the sweat, the made shots, the flops, whatever you got in a game. In the bigger picture, it really sometimes is a character that emerges that goes back generations in families. It's amazing to me.
Oh, all right, sir. We're still not into the heat of things, but before we continue, you know that this is a 3-segment deal. So we'll tackle first the Golden State Warriors after the break. We'll be right back.
We'll be back for more sports talks, only here in Sports Bytes.
Here now is the program for the millennials that will showcase young professionals' worth, aspirations, and successes in doing what they believe is right, progressive, and inclusive. Join them as they discover the path to self and societal fulfillment while making a difference. Hosted by empowered and cool millennial Erica Mizon, together with her fellow millennials, they will be making a difference. Only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Tough business out there. So many uncertainties, operational difficulties, deadlines. We provide the solutions and services that your company needs at the best price, guaranteed, with our global principles. And experienced partners, we bring solutions to your current and future business. Inolution, supporting your business as always. Video conferencing has never been crucial to your business than ever before. Whether it's work from home or remote work collaboration, productive team meetings are crucial to your business success. So whether it's for personal use or from small to medium to large conference meeting rooms, Logitech has the right solution right for you. With our partner Inolution's track record of responsive service, you can be assured of reliable and effective video collaboration all the time. Inolution, supporting your business as always. To serve you sooner, email us at support@inolution.com.ph. We are now ready to kick in, only here in Sports Bytes.
Welcome back. Mr. Roland Lazenby is still here, and we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors in depth. So, Roland, where does this place Steph Curry? I mean, this latest achievement.
Well, he's continuing to climb the ladder of greatness. He's changed the game. There are a few people that have changed the game, usually great centers.
Yeah.
The game has always loved its athletic guards, of course, Jordan and Kobe. They have been usually largely post weapons. Jordan was a great post weapon. The triangle offense, as fans in the Philippines know is pretty much it's a triple post offense. That's why it's called the triangle. And so a lot of the attacking for teams was done in the post. Bill Russell, it was all blocking shots and igniting fast breaks and just demoralizing opponents for those Celtics that won championships in the 60s. Steph Curry has, there always been some good shooters. You look back, I'm amazed. When the three-point shot first came into mainstream American basketball, it had been in the ABA and the ABL, various leagues, but once it got going in the NBA and then in colleges, early on you would have amazing players shoot 40%, which was considered incredible. But Steph Curry managed to take that to a different place and to routinely stretch the floor, unlike any other player had ever done, on a regular basis, on a consistent basis. And yet he had done so by being willowy. He's 6'3", but among the trees of the NBA, he looks like many nights like a 12-year-old kid running around out there, dancing around and just tormenting these larger giants of the global human population. If you're 7 feet and residing somewhere in the world, there's a chance you're going to find it to the NBA. If you grow up in basketball, but Steph is none of that. And Phil Jackson, the great American coach, who could always be dismissive of other players, referred to him as, oh yeah, back in the day, that was Chris Jackson. And Chris Jackson was a great shooter, but he really wasn't a factor in championships and things. But the measure of Steph Curry is that the game is now set to his personal standard. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when he came along at UCLA in the 1960s, they changed the rules of the game. They disallowed dunking. It was called the Alcindor rule. He was known as Lou Alcindor then, but dunking wasn't allowed until it was brought back into the game in 1977. You couldn't dunk. So that's quite a big rule. George Mikan, the first tall guy to come into the game, they used to call the key, the lane and the foul circle was a key because it was shaped like a keyhole. But Mikan was so good down low, they widened the key out to where it's, the lane it is now with the circular top at the free throw line. And so Mikan changed the game too. The parameters have shifted. But we are fortunate to see Steph at work. And he's climbing that ladder. He climbed about 3 rungs with this championship. He's in pretty good shape.
Okay, let's talk about his partner, his splash brother, Klay Thompson. Klay, the last time we saw him before he returned this season was in the finals in 2019 with the Toronto Raptors, where he got injured. And now he had to wait a couple of years before he had to return. And now he returns, wins the championship. How sweet is that for Klay?
Well, he was a great two-way player, unbelievable two-way player. And, there used to be a thing in American sports where all the sports writers would make heroes out of sometimes very corrosive people, make heroes out of, and these were just imperfect humans. They weren't bad people in some cases, but make heroes out of people that were sometimes not real nice. The amazing thing about the Splash Brothers, as we called them here, because of the ball splashing in the net, and so many such displays of outside shooting from the Warriors, is that they are what they are. They're just really, really, really good people. And Clay, of course, had been a true pilgrim of the NBA and really had played so hard and so well, and then came upon these very public, very gruesome injuries, and had to suffer. And it looked like all of that was over, frankly. The Warriors were very bad while he was rehabbing for a lot of reasons. It was a great lesson in the strength of team. And they had Steve Kerr as a coach. They had Steph Curry. But they were miserable. They would just be unsightly many nights. All the while, Klay Thompson is a true pilgrim. He's going through the kind of rehabs that Kobe Bryant went through, except that Kobe never had a torn ACL, a major, major injury. But the Achilles, the torn Achilles, all of those injuries, and it wasn't easy coming back. It wasn't easy coming back and having put on display such a whole game, such a complete game that Clay possessed. He could do it all. Really a fine defender, great shooter, just a perfect partner for Steph Curry. And it didn't look like there were questions. I mean, a lot of people, the Achilles injury alone ends their careers. So then for Clay to come back with all the humility and effort, and these are the kinds of things that little kids can look up to and stay fairly safe in, because you're not going to grow up to the point and discover that in some ways your hero could be just nasty sometimes and not nice. These are nice guys. It's amazing. And so the Warriors, and they're guided by really nice guy, a person who, Steve Kerr, I'm not something like his best friend, but I spent all of those last dance years with the Bulls all the time, interviewing them, getting to know them. And Steve was one of those people who became my friend. And he helped me tremendously. He was very honest for my book, Michael Jordan, The Life. And that was almost a decade ago that book came out, 8 years ago. But Steve, it's amazing to watch somebody you know and admire, who was just a sub, a sub who had a tremendous view of all the proceedings. And, those Bulls where he was a player, there was so much conflict. Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson hated each other. It's hard to have the top two figures in a championship team's administration just hate each other deeply. And so Steve was called upon many nights to provide that kind of perspective. So it's been fun to watch him be a part of this success. And of course, people ask him, what are the secrets to everything you've done, Steve? He says, well, I've been able to hang around a lot of superstars in my career. And he's always in possession of great humility. So it's all fun for me to watch.
Okay, let me get to another player. There were a lot of questions when he joined the Warriors, but silently he was contributing to their cause, especially in the playoffs. I'm talking about Andrew Wiggins. With his first NBA title with the Warriors, does this somehow vindicate the criticism he has been getting for the past years? As well, up to the point some of them even thought he was a flop.
Well, that's an amazing high to be the number one overall pick in the NBA draft, and boy, it comes with tremendous expectation, and then it's an amazing low. as people everywhere are looking at what you do and what you don't do and your flaws, and suddenly you become a flop. You become the definition in widespread popular culture of a failure. Speaking of Jerry Krause, I used to spend a lot of time with him, the great Bulls GM, different guy. But he said, you get these kids that are high draft picks, and you put them on bad teams, bad cultures that don't know how to win. They often have lost a lot. That's why these teams have the number one pick. And they don't have the culture and the leadership to do anything. He says that's the making of a 50 caliber asshole. These young kids get there and become very cynical because they're in circumstances. Basketball requires context. You have to have teammates and coaching. And if you get there and it's a bad chemistry with a bad culture, you can become very cynical as a young player. You're making millions, and you just say, oh, it's about the money. And so he found a new basketball life with the circumstances. And of course, he could have come to these finals and not played well, Mr. Wiggins. He could have been a flop. There's no guarantee that you're going to step into the moment like that and play not just well, but play exceptionally well the way he did. And so, I mean, everywhere you turned, this Warriors story had something that really completed the metaphor for all of us fans, for all of us observers. Gary Payton's son, Gary Payton Jr., is there on a partially guaranteed contract. It's almost like, oh, you're Gary Payton's son. Well, we'll have you on the roster just, for grins. Well, that's not what they were doing. They had evaluated that he was a player. And of course, he seized the moment. He stepped into that major spotlight of the championship series. And at a moment when Steph Curry faltered, when the Celtics defense was able to just throw so much at Steph Curry that it got him off his rhythm, here comes Gary Payton's son. And of course, there were photos of Gary and his son. Gary, who battled Jordan in the 1996 finals, and with Seattle, what was then the Seattle Supersonics. And, Gary was stepped up. The elder Gary stepped up pretty well in 96 against that great Bulls team that won so many games and humiliated so many opponents. So it was a touching moment that the son had come from this sort of very marginal player in terms of the talent base for that team to being a major factor. So everywhere you turned with the Warriors, that format opened the door. It didn't mean that individually the players were ready to go in until they proved that. But boy, each and every one stepped to the fore and did amazing things. That's fun. We're all in that position in life. We all struggle and fight and get what we can, and then if we're lucky, a door will open. And if we're luckier still and we've worked hard enough and we're ready, we can step into that door. And so that's an important metaphor for life, that it's not, we tend to think that life is all about the chosen people. Steph Curry was not a chosen guy. His father played basketball at Virginia Tech and was a fine shooter and role player for years in the NBA. And Del Curry. Steph, his junior year of high school, was not really good enough to get a top Division I scholarship in America. And Virginia Tech, his father's alma mater, said, well, you can come here as a walk-on. We're out of scholarships. Instead, Steph got a full ride to Little Davidson College, a very, very fine academic school that has had good basketball teams over the years. But to think that Steph was this guy at Davidson College who becomes a two-time most valuable player in the NBA, you would have to argue that so many of the things around the Warriors are storybook, as to almost be, that stuff's all made up. There's no way that human achievement works that way. People get beaten down by their circumstances. They don't outlast them. But that junior year before high school, Steph Curry grew. He was playing a lot of AAU ball. And he went from an interesting guy, thin kind of guy who could throw up a bunch of jump shots. He grew and he became stronger. One of Del Curry's friends, Paige Moyer, the son of Virginia Tech coach Charlie Moyer, who coached Steph's father, watched Steph and called the coach at Virginia Tech and said, you need to get a scholarship and get this guy. He has changed dramatically that summer. But that's what happens if people keep working. If they find something they love and they keep working at it, they get better and better and better and better. They get into something where the thing they love just almost becomes one with their mojo. You know what I'm saying? And so that's sort of an important thing for all of us in our battles in life.
All right. Woo. Thank you, Sir Roland.
Hey, man.
There's a lot of questions.
100-page books.
I love your analysis. Anyway, I need to take a breather. Let's take a break. But in the third segment, we have someone joining us. He's waiting in the room. So, folks, please don't leave us. We'll be right back.
We'll be back for more sports talks, only here in Sports Bytes. Big Media is all about life's journey.
Yung mga yun, mga bata pa sila dati nung nakakasama ko sila. So ngayon, sikat na sila. Kaya...
In digital. Entertainment.
Maraming salamat po na nabigyan nyo kami ng opportunity.
Information, story, inspiration, and experiences. Whenever, wherever you want, welcome. Join us as we push the boundaries of possibility here with Big Media.
Get into the treasure trove of undiscovered music through Napalm, your new all-Pinoy alternative music. Whether it's rock, metal, reggae, soul, or pop, we have it covered. Napalm features upcoming Pinoy artists and musicians, hosted by Lace Jimenez and Thunder God Bernard. So sit back and relax and enjoy Napalm, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Are you looking for a solution to address injuries using an advanced, non-messy Malayo ang tingin. Malayo ba ang tingin mo? Sa hinihintay mong tricycle, uwing-uwi ka na ba? Kaya pa ng legs mo. Tricycle hailing app, Para Hero is here to serve you. Through the Para Hero mobile app, you can easily book your tricycle ride within your community, all day, every day. So whether you're at home, your favorite place, or gusto mo na talagang umuwi, ora mismo, Para Hero app is here for you. Just download Para Hero mobile app in Google Play. Register, it's that easy, and you're ready to book. Para Hero is initially available in BF Homes Parañaque and Las Piñas area. But soon, sa community mo din, malapit na po, Para Hero, para sa pasahero. Video meetings are the future of collaboration. Meetings are like people. No two are ever the same. Logitech provides better meetings where everyone can be seen and heard, because great meetings just don't happen. Logitech, with our partner Inolution, ensures your video collaboration is at the next level. Inolution, supporting your business as always. To serve you sooner, email us at support@inolution.com.ph. We are now ready to kick in, only here in Sports Bytes.
Welcome to the third and final segment of this episode with Mr. Roland Lazenby. For the third segment, we have a very special guest. Ironically, Mr. Lazenby says he's a Boston Celtics fan, and we're about to talk about the Celtics. Everybody, please welcome Mr. Vince Vico.
Thank you for having me, Brian. Mr. Lazenby, good to see you again.
Great to see you, Vince. Just call me Roland.
All right.
Well,
right.
The timing is right, Vince, because we're going to talk about your favorite team. So I'll be kind enough to let you ask Mr. Lazenby the questions. Take it away, Vince.
Okay. Any similarities between Brown and Tatum and Pippen and Jordan and Shaq and Kobe in the fact that, especially for Shaq and Kobe, that in order for the Celtics to win it all next year, they both have to coexist, and they acknowledge the existence of their three other teammates or their other teammates in order for it to work.
Well, there are two lines of thinking regarding the Celtics in the wake of this year. And one is, and I think they're both correct, one is the Celtics, obviously, this happens every year, going to be looking for, they've got a nice mix of players. They've got some really nice pieces on that team. Do they have to do a lot of upgrades or just tweaking the roster? That'll be the decision. And the thing guiding that, the thing that we don't know yet, is that in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, the Celtics obviously have two emerging superstars. Now, to what level are they going to go? Like emerging superstars, they have a tendency to want to take over and do it on their own. And we saw that in that Game 6, the final game of the championship series in the NBA, the Celtics came out strong because they were moving the ball. Both of their young stars were basically trusting their teammates, and that was creating major problems for the Warriors. But, we have a phrase that's probably used around the world called hero ball. And, of course, it's based on the great heroes of basketball, Jordan and Kobe, figures like that who fought titanic struggles to learn to trust their teammates. And that the victories they achieved with the triangle offense, and I'm not really getting off in the weeds here because basketball fans in the Philippines are very sophisticated. they've watched Tim Cohn's triangle teams for years and what those teams could achieve. And so the triangle in the U.S. allowed figures like Jordan and Kobe to find ways to relate to their less talented teammates. And those offenses required ball movement and sharing the basketball. The coaches themselves had to rely on the superstars, Tex Winter and Phil Jackson, and they had to constantly bring Kobe along and Jordan along, and they both had very dramatic moments. For Jordan in his first championship, it was John Paxson, who was continually open against the Lakers in the 1991 championship series. And Jordan kept trying to go one-on-one, and Phil Jackson called a timeout. They came to the huddle, and Phil was looking at Michael. You know, Phil had handled Michael with kid gloves for 3 seasons. And he looked at him and said, "Michael, who's open?" And Jordan wouldn't acknowledge him. He said, "Michael, who's open?" And Jordan wouldn't acknowledge him. And it went on again. And finally, Jordan said, "Paxson's open." And Phil said, "Then throw him the effing ball." And of course, we know in that championship series, it was very intense. We know that pass was made. And it's amazing how that pass settled in on the lore of those Celtics teams as they evolved as basketball teams do. And that story was told over and over. Steve Kerr wasn't on that team, but he explained to me in one of our conversations that coming to the Bulls, that was one of the stories, sort of the institutional knowledge of the franchise. That was one of the stories that Steve Kerr was told. And so it came to be his favorite story, even though he wasn't there when it happened. And of course, the other day, I've been working on my Magic Johnson biography for 4 years, and I have a tremendous archive of interviews I've done for 40 years in interviewing players and coaches and other figures in American basketball. And I was listening to a piece of tape. I'm not even sure how that piece of tape popped up in my archive. But I was talking to Jim Clemens after Kobe Bryant had to go into the 2000 NBA Finals. And he had been fighting. He had told me in 1999 I was rebounding free throws for Kobe. And he told me he dreamed. He was a very unhappy young player. And he told me that he dreamed of playing for Tex Winter and the triangle offense. And yet when Phil and the triangle got there, Phil favored Shaquille O'Neal, as most coaches would, with a big center. And Kobe was frustrated. He wanted hero ball. He wanted to dominate. And he just kept telling me, we'd have these phone conversations, and he'd just keep telling me, "I just want to be the man. I just want to be the man." And it came finally to the 2000 championship series. Shaq had fouled out. The team was in trouble. And Kobe came in. And instead of playing hero ball, he began sharing the ball and playing the triangle. Jim Clemens was explaining in this piece of tape that popped up just the other day. And I was sitting there listening. You know, you get so busy, sometimes you don't even listen to what people are telling you. But he was explaining this was Kobe's moment, because he ended up playing hero ball, but not the direct way he was trying to do it. He ended up playing hero ball by submitting to the offense, sharing with his teammates, and trusting and letting the game happen, and then being there when the offense created those openings for him to attack. And it was a major learning moment in the life of Kobe Bryant. And these Celtics had a moment. They had the Warriors on the ropes because they were sharing the ball. But you know, Ime Udoka, a brilliant young first-year coach, was commenting, you know, that Celtics crowd that is so insistent, that is so hungry for those heroes. You know, they sort of feed into it, and it takes a strong athlete to get into that environment and not want to go, oh, I'm going to, I'm taking it here, I'm taking it there, I'm taking over. And Ime Udoka knows what happened. And he knows where they have to go next. There's no guarantee they're going to get there. But the path could not be clearer for these Celtics. Too young, really impressive. I mean, those guys were so impressive. Brown and Tatum in the playoffs. For me, especially Tatum. He had his struggles, but they have so much ability and so much drive. So it will be interesting to see their progress next season, Vincent. You who are really locked on everything like a hawk in basketball know these answers before I even say them to you. It's amazing, though.
If you were part of Celtics management, and I myself, one of the solutions wouldn't be to break up the two of them, would it?
I don't think so. Every time you run into the crossroads like this, you have that decision. I would not break them up. See, they take pressure off of each other. It's like Scottie Pippen was nowhere near Jordan in that one sense of scoring and being a volume threat to the other team. But Pippen did everything else so well. And Jordan had this habit of forcing himself to greatness by putting all this pressure on himself. And he was in circumstances where he had to do that. He'd become a cynical player because when he got to the Bulls, they really didn't have the talent or everything that was needed to be a championship team. And there were guys who came into that lineup who learned how to deal with Jordan's pressure, because while he puts all that pressure on himself, that kind of star player will put it on everybody else. And Jordan explained to me one day when he gave me some time just for us to talk, he said, I put all that pressure. I'm really rough on my teammates because I have to find out if they're able to stand up in those moments. And so these two young players for the Celtics are able to take some pressure, tremendous pressure off of each other. Imagine one without the other trying to take on one of these other great teams. But what they have to do is to learn to also reach out more to their teammates in moments. And both of them are, you have to have a certain level of confidence to be that kind of player, to be that good. But you also have to have an ability to understand your teammates. And, I've been writing 4 years on the life of Magic Johnson. And there are people in life who are multipliers. And certainly Magic Johnson is probably the greatest multiplier in the history of the NBA. He not only made his teammates better, he made his coaches better. And so it will be fascinating. I think that of all the teams in the NBA, the Celtics are best situated at the moment to be the next team. Now, Miami Heat, they likewise have an interesting thing. Their star is older, and they have some young talent around him. It will be interesting to see what the moves the Miami Heat make. But I think the Celtics are more a team about personal growth. They're more a team about fine-tuning. And they obviously have the mind in place in their coaching. And I dare say they have the mind in place in their management with Brad Stevens. So I'm not a betting man, but I take great interest in the Celtics. They're a franchise that is having lost this finals. It was not pretty. at the end, but it was a good lesson in the ugliness of that. And they still displayed that heart and tried to come back. So we'll see where they go. I think the biggest thing the Celtics need is to take Al Horford to the fountain of youth and let him take a good long drink. That guy to me is another of my favorites. Just a high character person with a lot of heart and a lot of ability. So we'll see where it goes.
Now, I want to digress a bit from the Boston Celtics, Roland. And you mentioned earlier about the book you're writing about Magic Johnson. But have you been following the HBO series on the Laker dynasty winning time?
Yes, of course. I had to speak on it in an internet show. And so I was hugely upset with it at first for throwing facts around and just distorting everything. Hollywood does that a lot with stories said based on true events. And that's fine. I think it's different when you have real living people and you use that technique to trash their careers. I'm a guy, I have a lot of respect. People ask me to pick who's the greatest player of all time? What's your top 10? And I really have spent my life studying the game, engaging every figure I know who will sit down with me, whether it's the coach or the team, manager, the guy picking up towels in the locker room. I talk to them all because they all have a wisdom. All the staff, they live, it's a life. It's a very insular life. And they all know each other, the trainers, and they spend a lot of time together. It's something we all share that millions of us are paying attention to. And so, in one sense, it's a silly game. We have to struggle 2 years after we've witnessed some game to even remember what happened or who won it. That's just sometimes a fact of life. But it is the stepping up and the building of a group toward challenges that really fascinates a lot of us, because the thing about basketball, association football has 11 players, American football has 11 players and teams of 45, and chemistry is a factor there. But the 5-man game of basketball, the great mystery of it is the chemistry, how the players fit together. It's part of what keeps us all so fascinated. And certainly you can't, the world has several great basketball cultures. You guys reside in one of those great basketball cultures. And so it's a game of small group dynamics mixed with superstars. So that's fun.
Are we going to see while you're writing a book about Magic now, will we see a Roland Lazenby book on the Golden State Warriors?
And yes, I would love to go off and write more books. And I have another, I'm under contract for another book. But I'm probably going to write a book that is a very short book that synthesizes my experiences. What is it? What are these similarities? What are these things that are so important to us all? And how does it matter on a bigger scale? I am not going to take on the pressure, nor should I. There are already people who want to write books like that in the next generation. And there's plenty to write and plenty to find ways to study. I think it's, it's important to let younger people do it. I'll continue to write, but I'm not going to get into, it's a fist fight trying to get a large cultural book. I don't just write about basketball. I write about family. I write about race, which is a very divisive subject in America, sadly. But I think you have to connect it all. And, the purpose of writing a book is greater understanding for us all. And that begins with me struggling to understand. And if I get a little bit of understanding, I'm able to pass that along in a book. And basketball, my old man loved it, my father. He was one of the old two-handed set shooters. The game was very different in the 1930s. But it's a family thing with me. It's a way I have of honoring my father, but I like to think that whatever understanding he had about life, for him it began with basketball because he loved it dearly. And so I think it's a culture and a community, and I think it's a very good one.
Back to the series I mentioned about earlier, Roland. Jerry West is threatening to sue the producers because of what he thinks or perceives as he sees as sort of how he was portrayed in the series. Is he justified in threatening to sue?
Well, I wrote a biography of Jerry West, and it opens with a scene where I'm talking to Jerry in 1999 as the Lakers are getting swept, and he explodes in anger, and that wasn't necessarily typical of Jerry. But some of those things are true. Well, they went, it's just absurd. And my book will maybe reach that Jerry West book. It wasn't anywhere near the seller that the Jordan book was. The Jordan book's all over the world in 22 languages. My Jerry West book is just in English, mostly in American. There were things I came to learn about Jerry that related to his health that I chose not to put in that book. And in some ways, I was respecting, I could have sold a lot more copies, but, I didn't want to violate the sanctity of his personal health. But I think if these producers, they obviously know something, because they're sort of bullying him related to his mental health. And they have made these events cartoonish. It's like a cartoon, and they don't really care about the truth. They throw in all kinds of things. It opens with a white party that Donald Sterling of the Clippers is supposedly having. Well, that was in San Diego, the Clippers were, and Sterling hadn't even bought them yet. But they have this party where Magic is humiliated playing Norm Nixon and ends up lying on the court in shame in front of all these people in the white suits. None of that, in any fashion, in any way, ever happened. Yet it's a linchpin to igniting the drama of the whole series. And they have Jerry West in those early segments being this insane guy. Jerry is a gentleman of the Southern Appalachians. Can he become angry? You bet. But that was not how he operated. And so these things are so egregious. I mean, the story itself is a fantastic basketball story. But when you start doing that level, and these are very cocky people because they are the kings of Hollywood. Adam McKay is a brilliant producer. But this is a different thing for him. And the thing to remember is this is going on for, 6 or 7 seasons. We just are at the first championship. It sets a really questionable, and I'm like anybody else. I can watch the stuff and laugh at the cartoon and then be infuriated at what they're doing. Because I'll write a book, it'll sell 800,000 copies globally. The HBO series is going to reach millions upon millions that embrace that as the truth. It almost makes people who are trying to deal with the facts, like the little boy with his finger in the dike trying to prevent the flood from blowing up. I don't have a complete answer to that. A lot of people say, you're an old man. You're worried about stuff nobody else cares about. But I think the facts and details of how things progress are instructive to all of us. To pervert all that and to pretend it was something else entirely.
Documentary?
Yes, I have. My Michael Jordan book has been under option for a while. A Hollywood producer has optioned 40 years of my interview tapes. They're looking at what they can do with that. I'm an old guy sitting up in the hills of Virginia. It's a beautiful day here. That's really not how Hollywood stories are made from what I do. I don't worry too much about any of that. I write about the lives of people. I don't own their lives. They own their lives. They have the rights to what they do. That's how it should be. I'm not really...
Well, I guess this is just about it. Vince asked most of the questions for the third segment. Like I promised you, Vince, the third segment is yours.
Well, I want to tell you guys once again, it's not easy to interview a rambling old man. And so I really appreciate your patience in doing that.
Oh, if you only knew the number of articles timeless, it could be used over and over again, Sir Roland. Trust me.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, I'm afraid we have to cut it short because we're running out of time.
Hey, I've been very fortunate to share the morning with you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. But before we go, Sir Roland, final words from you. Or you want to greet somebody, anybody?
Yeah, always Coach Cone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
How about a book on Coach Tim? Do you have any plans there?
I've been married 47 years. My wife has been so patient. This Magic Johnson book has tested her patience, and she is a wonderfully patient lady. But if I had to do a book, I think Coach Cone and I should do one together on Tex Winter.
Yeah.
I get asked constantly. I don't have the time or the energy but at the very least, I would love to get a little time just to hang out with Coach Cone to talk basketball. Maybe you can get him on the air here and we can all talk to him. And I would love that. I think that would be the chance for the three of us to talk to Coach Cone. You have to find truth tellers. You have to find truly the people who have paid the price of greatness. And that is Coach Cone. And so, man, sometime this summer, I don't know. His schedule is busy, but boy, it would be wonderful to get him into a conversation. We could just sit back and talk to him, and he's going to have all kinds of things to say.
I'll try my best to do that. That's the best I can promise you, Sir Roland.
Yeah, we might include at some point Rafe Bartholomew. Do you guys know him? He wrote the book. Great guy. He went to the Philippines and spent all the time there with the culture. He wrote a book called Pacific Rims. Mm-hmm. Have you guys seen that?
Yes.
So we could get Coach Cone on and Rafe Bartholomew. I will tell you, that would be something sweet for me.
Best effort. I'll try. Vince, you're going to help me, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Let's see if we can get Mr. Triangle offense here in the Philippines online for Roland.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's able to do that yet because of his busy schedule. But we will try.
I will message both of them on Twitter.
Yeah, please do. If you could help us, Sir Roland.
And see what kind of response we could get. I think, first of all, Rafe Bartholomew is an extraordinary writer. Mm-hmm. He's a really good person. And of course, Coach Tim is unbelievable. So I think that would allow the three of us just to sit back and learn. And I always love that. Always the opportunity to learn more.
And of course, Vince, finally I got you on the show. And I'm sorry I had to leave you earlier. We were doing an interview with Cam Austin. But I was able to throw at least a couple of questions. Vince, final words, thoughts?
First of all, Brian, thanks for having me. And it's good to see you, Roland. And to all the viewers out there, stay safe. And so long. We'll see you again.
Invite them to your show, Vince. Sports for All. Come on.
Sports for All on weekends. Times are to be announced. So there's no really set time for the program. So watch out.
All right. Thank you, Vince. And hopefully we'll have you again. Same with Sir Roland, who's always obliging when I ask whether it be on TV or online. And you're gaining a lot of fans here in the Philippines.
Well, that's an honor. Thank you. Thank both of you for taking the time with me.
So that's it for this episode, everybody. Thank you, and I'm sure I'm gonna ask Sir Roland again after the draft or the off season. That's gonna be sweet. The player movements. I need your thoughts again there.
And a new crop of rookies coming in with the draft here.
Yep. And I'm sure Vince is going to want to join us with that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All right. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you. And until next time.
Bye.
Always tune in to Sports Bytes, the show where the athletes and sports leaders reveal the stories you wanted to know. Be updated in latest happenings and what's in store in world of Philippine sports and beyond. Only here in Sports Bytes, every Friday at 8 p.m. Brought to you by BigMedia Philippines, your home digital media network.